Welcome everyone. My name is Hannah and I am from Hearts Need Art. Welcome to my little watercolor and Q-tip tutorial. I hope you have fun with this today. I actually have a project that you can do completely 100% with Q-tips. Now, when I was doing this, I did a lot of scribbling. So if you're afraid of scribbling, that's okay. Jump right into it. I am fully a fan of scribbling, even if you don't think you'll be good at scribbling. Let me go ahead and show you guys my project today, and then I will dive into the basics of what you may need for the project after that. So here is my first example. This is going to be a tree that uses a lot of greens and browns. I made a few little flowers in here. Super fun to do. And again, lots of scribbling. Here is another example, which I may lean more towards this one as well. You can see lots of scribblies down here for the grass. It's just supposed to give us the impression of grass. We're not actually making each and every blade of grass. So I have brown here mixed with purple. And I just want you to know that this can be made very easily using, like I said, Q-tips, but also Crayola watercolors, or really any watercolor pan you might have around the house. I happen to choose to use this particular pan set because it's just very, very bright. It's very, very cheap. So you can buy this anywhere, grocery stores, you name it. I'm sure you've seen it somewhere. So I think we can get started with a little bit of water. Paper, I have this paper right here. Cardstock as well. So if you don't have watercolor paper, that's okay. Cardstock is perfect. Again, I have a watercolor pad that I use. So it's got pretty big paper for lots of scribbling room. But like I said, you definitely don't have to do that. And if you wanted to, you could even cut it in half too. You'll see where I have an example here. I took that paper there and I folded it in half and I cut it. Or I ripped it in this case, but I could just cut it with some scissors. So completely up to you. And I have my water cup right here. And even though this project is not very messy, it still is a good idea just to have lots of napkins. So I think we can get started. So I would like to walk you through how to do I think I'm mostly going to run to the side of this tree. The color of the tree trunk is really what I'm thinking about. I have purple, but mostly brown. And this is what we're going to start with. It'll be a nice way to sort of warm up our hands a little bit and stretch out our Q-tips into those branches as well. Personally, I like the way I did the branches in here. So just kind of pointing out how thin you can get. So whenever I actually use my Q-tips, I am going to be scrubbing up and down, spreading it, pressing down hard on some spots. Believe it or not, you can get a pretty good amount of control with the Q-tips, but it's pretty easy to use. And you can also lift it up a little bit and fling it to get some of those thinner branches, kind of flinging it. So before I get into that, I first have to mix my colors. So I'd like to show you my palette. I have here a whole myriad of colors, a lot. I did clean off this part because this is going to aid in helping me to mix colors, especially when it comes to that brown and that purple. So without further ado, let's go ahead and mix some colors. I'm going to go ahead and do one side of the Q-tip per color. Lots of water. Dip that in there. And now that I have a good amount of color, I probably really only grab the purple just because it's more bright than the brown one. So mix that around there. And I do want to leave some space for this side as well. And I'm going to go ahead and flip my little Q-tip over. I'm going to use this side for brown. Get some more. We are going to be dipping back and forth many, many times. Here's a little trick for you in case you don't really want to completely mix your colors together. I mean, a little bit is inevitable. Don't forget that part. But I can go back and forth and put it on off to the side here. swirl it around to the side, and then I can jump in and mix it all together. Now what I'm going to be doing is going back from my mixed color to my painting, and then maybe even to these parts as well, to the individual colors. Now, I think my tree can start right about here. I'd like plenty of room to scribble. So tree trunks are always going to be thicker at the bottom, but I want to start smaller because I just want to give myself some room to grow. Up and down, up and down, up and down. I am not being precise at all. In fact, my trunk is kind of curved. I want some roots to come out here. And when I do roots, I'm always going to sort of think about kind of where they curve. So I wanted that to curve there. Let's say I want another curve right there, like that. Kind of like I'm doing a little hook. I'm starting off thin, giving myself room to grow. And I'm also looking at where I have a few dry brush strokes here, because I can always go back to my water and scrape some more paint right on top of that. Thickening up some parts. I remember what a tree looks like. I remember that it's really thick on the bottom. Right now, this is looking like a very purple tree trunk. So let's go back and add a little bit of brown. Remember how I said a little bit of mixing is going to be inevitable? Well, now's the time to do it. I'm going to go straight for my brown. Now yours may be a little bit different. Maybe you happen to have the perfect ratio of brown to purple, or even brown to green. Same process with the green. It just depends on you. Go back and forth with the purple, with whatever color you're using. And I'm going along the same path. My colors are going to be mixing right on the paper. So now I think it's about time we go into the branches. So these branches here, again, they start thicker, and then I just sort of give them space to grow, and eventually they get really thin out here. Get some more water, get some more paint. I can just sort of imagine my finger tracing the branches. Usually trees go off into 2 or 3 main big branches. So envision that in your mind if you can. There's one big branch with room to grow, another big branch with room to grow, and another one with room to grow. You can go back and forth and back and forth. I do want to smooth out my brush strokes, so I'm sort of starting from the trunk and having them grow from there. I want some of these branches to sort of dip down. I got more water because I wanted to spread this. Some of these brush strokes are looking a little dry. And when you do this, pay attention to how dry it's feeling. Do you like the way that looks? Ask yourself that question. Does it look good when it's more wet, when the line is more smooth? Or does it look better a little bit drier like that? How many branches should I do? Of course, I'm not going to do the entire tree. That's quite a lot. Again, that idea of having room to grow, keep that in mind. I think it's pretty fitting since we have a tree. My little tree has another little branch here. I'm jumping over that first one. Perhaps I can do the same with a bottom branch there. I'm pressing down lightly for those lighter branches. Keep in mind for my piece, I'm going to have a lot of green too. So some of the ends of these branches, those are going to be covered up a little bit. That may be a good thing. That may be a bad thing. Just depends on you. Now, I think I'm done with my tree. So I'm going to set this aside. Hands are a little bit messy, just going to happen. This is one reason why you have lots of napkins. So for my tree or my leaves, this is a really fun part because this is where the squigglies really get to start. So I'm going to dip my little Q-tip in water again. I'm going to start off with my main green. That's my main color, my base. And I'm thinking I want to have just regular green. So maybe a green mixed with nothing, but I also want a dark green. So I'm going to add blue as my dark green to my green. And maybe later, maybe I will add a little bit of yellow for the really, really bright emeraldy areas. We'll see how that works out. I like to keep an open mind with these paintings. So I got more water. I started at an area that in my head seems like it would be covering the branches. See how I'm moving my brush squiggles to little signature type of brush strokes. Now here's an example of what I mean. When you do your signature, oftentimes we make little squigglies like that, right? So it's kind of a mixture of both. I do squigglies, I do little, I don't even know what you call them, flings. And I'm doing them mostly around the edges here. Again, this is my base. I'm definitely going to grow more leaves. Definitely going to add more. Going to start off a little bit more modest for now. Squiggle my way through the trees. I'm also just sort of looking at how it curves like that. That was just a happy accident. I love the way that looks. The way it curves overall. Happy accidents, they happen all the time. Now, I think that's a pretty good amount of green. Like I said, we're going to be growing. So let me show you how to mix the darker green. I want to get lots more. I can go ahead and start mixing or putting some of my green down right here. And then I will be adding some blue to the mix. Now, this blue on this particular paint pan set is very, very strong. I'm going to start out pretty moderately. So I can put it off to the side here. I probably added a little more blue than I intended. That happens. So let's get more green, balance it out. Mixing colors is all about balance. And there you go. Mix them together. I actually need more blue. Crazy. See how I double dipped into the blue there? It's going to happen. Now I want to aim for putting my dark green on the underbelly of these spots. I can even spread them downward too. But a lot of times these darker greens, they fall to the bottom of certain areas, although that needed to be filled. At this point, I'm really just having fun with it. I love the swirling. I personally want to make these a little more watery, so what I did was I dipped my Q-tip straight into the water, spread it as needed. You can always go back and forth and add more green, add more dark green. See, I've added more blue to that. Play around with yours. I kind of like that this portion right here is a little bit more blue. But here's where the really fun part comes, when I get to add some yellow into the mixture. Now I'm going to set this aside, grab a new Q-tip, because I'm going into the light colors now. So let's get some of that yellow. Lots and lots of water. We'll probably just need a little bit of green. I don't think we'll need too much. A lot of this color that we're about to mix, it's going to get mixed up in here anyway. Flip to the other side and get some green. And that looks good to me. It's a really bright, new emeraldy color. I'm going to put that mostly at the tops. I do want a little hint of it in between the trees because I think that's just lovely. Perhaps some down here. Perhaps grab a little more water, a little more yellow. Now I am keeping in mind to keep some spaces in between my brush strokes. I mean, I am filling in some of them, of course, especially since I want to build that body up here. But real trees, they have spaces in between their leaves and their branches. So let's keep some of that. And now I'm happy with this portion. I love the way my little tree turned out. I'm going to jump down to the bottom here. I want some grass. Now, I will show you how to do a bit more of a grassy texture. And I will also show you how to do a bit more of an abstract grassy texture. So this one right up here. I love this one. Lots of scribbling there. So choose which of your greens, the regular one, light one, or the dark one. I'm going to go for the light one. I do have to mix a little bit more. Flip it, get some more yellow. There we go. So the lighter one. Now, think about kind of which direction the wind is flowing. Say in my head, I'm sort of thinking of the wind blowing that way. Use hand movements too to sort of give you a general idea. Wind is blowing that way. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Just like that. I need a little more green in there. Scribble. I'm doing wider brush strokes as well, wider scribbles. Now, here's how you create some of these grassy textures here. I have a lot of that underneath the root system. It just feels like it makes more sense to have them pushing up away from the roots. So perhaps I can get a little bit of that dark one too. You can start at the bottom of the tree somewhere. Swipe up like that. You may feel it a little bit tougher to move and swipe one way versus the other way. That's natural. That happens. Like for me, my strong point is swiping this way. So I'm going to start from the bottom here, swipe up a little more. But after that, I think I'd be almost finished with my grass. I kind of want, at least for me, yours may be different, but I kind of want my brush strokes to sort of blend in with some of these swipies. Now, just in case you're wanting this part, I have some little blue bonnets. That's going to be the very last step. So I'm going to go back to my purple since I already have one that's got purple. And let's go ahead and replenish this purple with water. And I'm going to start very lightly, just sort of a little bit. Goes a long way. Tap, 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 and then sort of try and tap as lightly as I can at the bottom there, or at the top there. Blue bonnets, they are much more full, closer to the bottom than they are at the top. I'm just going to put a few. And then because they're blue and not purple, let's go ahead and move back to our blue Q-tip. We'll add some of that. Now, here's a little tip. In case you want to make this blue color a little bit more realistic, it might be a good idea to add a tiny bit of black paint. Now, just a little bit. A little goes a long way. I'm gonna grab a new Q-tip for that. A little goes a long way. Like I have some on my Q-tip, and I'm gonna take some off my Q-tip. So tap a little off on a napkin. And then add it right on top of everything so that you're kind of spreading it out while it's still wet. See, that little bit went a long way. I'm staying within the confines of what I already made. And there you have it. You are more than welcome to give it a signature if you want to. That's it though. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this production, this little watercolor painting. I'm going to hold it up so you can see it right here. Can you believe all of this was done with Q-tips? And it's only like 4 Q-tips for me at least. So I really hope you enjoyed this. Once again, my name is Hannah and I am from Hearts Need Art. I hope you sign up for an art class. You definitely can. If not, just keep doing art, keep your mind going, keep having fun. That is the best advice I can give anyone. So have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.